Thank you, Commissioner Kerr. Confirmation of quorum. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'm going to make our First Nations territorial acknowledgement that we are located on the traditional territory of the Lakwatak people. And can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion read.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. I also am looking for a motion to adopt two different sets of minutes. The first one being the inaugural meeting that was held on January 11th.
Move adoption.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. And now a motion to adopt the special meeting minutes on January 31st.
Move adoption.
Wow, I have a plethora of choices here. Did you get that, Mr. Yates? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Business arising from the minutes. I understand we have a motion with respect to SGC 1723 from the special meeting. May we see the proposed motion?
Edie's going back to her desk right now.
Yes, please. Now I understand this is a motion of yours, Mr. Rice. Do you want to read it out?
Yes. That the requisition for option C of the Recreate report dated the 26th of January 2023 be increased by 50% in 2023 and the remaining 50% in 2024.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We don't have any public considerations that I can see. We don't have a report from me. And I believe we're now down to staff reports. And we're looking for a motion that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received regarding the Campbell River Skating Club ice allocation.
Move receipt.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have a report? Staff, go ahead.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and the commissioners. I can sort of speak to the options that we've put forward. Staff feel that the current ice allocation policy is fair, and any changes at this stage of the game would affect programming that's current, that's forecasted and planned. It does affect the users that use the facility. We actually split the ice in two during these events where we have lessons, we have public skate, and then we have like a pond hockey with rubber pucks. So we feel that this would be a major impact on the community and the staff at Strathcona Gardens.
Any of the commissioners have any questions? Yes, sir.
Which one? Just a little bit of background and history. We've had this come to the table before, and the facilities moved things around, and then that didn't work, and we had to go back to the way we were. And the number one thing for Strathcona Gardens is the public use. And I think if you look at the visits and the amount of use by the public in those after-school programs, I think we have to pay attention to those numbers. And there is lots of time that can be used by other user groups, the skating club, et cetera, on different days and different times. I think they need to be a little more flexible in their choosing of days and times.
Any further discussion? Oh, yes, thank you.
If I may add one more point, just one important point to note that since we've had some challenges on the aquatic side with staffing and then reduced hours with programming, or we have lesson sets that are full, we've had a lot of people move over to the arena side just to keep their kids in physical activities.
Yes, Commissioner Kerr.
I think, if I remember right, one of their big concerns was having it happen earlier. So is there any way to be able to get them in there earlier?
Well, the times they've requested to like move their start time ahead, you know, directly conflicts with our after-school programs, which we see a lot of usage. And, you know, because we don't just facilitate our programming, we do split the ice so that there can be drop-ins, and they are both heavily attended. So it would impact that. I don't think there's an option to split the ice in 3 and give them a portion. I don't think Skate Canada allows anybody other than Skate Canada participants on the ice.
So is there any further discussion on the motion to receive the report? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Is there a subsequent that we are required?
There's a letter to be received
Oh,
from the
yes.
skate club.
Right, we've got a motion. We're looking for a motion to receive the letter from the skate club.
Motion to receive?
Second.
Any discussion on the letter? Hearing none. All in favor of receipt? Any opposed? Is carried. Now, I guess I'm asking, is there a subsequent arising? Do we need something direction to staff, or you have an administrative policy and you're carrying it out?
Of the two options that are there, Robin, would feedback from the other user groups be appropriate at this time, or have you approach the other user groups that may be affected, or are you, as the public use, are the only other user group that would be affected at this time?
Well, we do have yearly meetings with the user groups to discuss any challenges they have or requests in any changes, and we haven't had any concerns other than the skating club to date. So, you know, we feel that, you know, option A would work based on we haven't had any other comments or feedback from the other groups. It seems to be working for them.
I would move option A then.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, staff. Good work. Thank you. Now we're down to correspondence. We've received correspondence regarding swimwear dress code on January 23rd. Could we have a motion to receive?
Motion to receive?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to receive? Hearing none. All in, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Byron.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Hearing none. All in favor of receipt? Any opposed? Okay. Is there an interest in doing a subsequent?
I would just like to know from this, from staff, whether we have staff do a report on this to come back with some further information. I know there's information from one other facility there, but it's a little bit vague how we would like to proceed with this.
Yes, Director Rice. Sorry, Commissioner Rice.
I don't think that this is an item that we should be talking here about, so I'm not in favor of doing anything with it.
I need motions to do anything. Okay.
I'll put a motion on the floor that staff investigate the appropriate or inappropriate dress code for Strathcona Gardens pool users. No?
No.
I do not want to define what's appropriate and inappropriate. If the commission wants, we could do a report on dress codes for other similar facilities and provide that to the commission if that's something they'd like. Or not.
Yes, Director Rice, sorry.
Again, I don't think that we're in a position that we should be deciding these things.
Yes.
If I may just share some preliminary discussions with other facilities and organizations like the BC Aquatic Networking and then the facilities on the island, everybody has not done any specific dress codes for this topic and subject.
Okay, well, yes, Commissioner Dahl.
There's already a policy that requires proper wear or proper attire. Just leave it to staff.
So we would require a motion from our commissioners to permit that to happen today? Yes, Commissioner Kerr. Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? Yes, you're invited. Please give us your name and explain. What's the time limit on these things? 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Do we need anything more than name? Do we need an address or anything like that? Name. And if you could spell it too, please.
Yes, it's Vanessa McLean, VANESSA-MACLEAN. So the reason I think this is important, as noted, there is a dress code in place. Appropriate is what the dress code is. However, it seems to be vague these days on what some people deem appropriate and what some people deem as not appropriate. In my 39 years, I have never gone to a family-friendly public pool and seen naked butts in my face. And now we are at this point where this is a subject we have to touch on. This is not one that we can just roll under the carpet and ignore, because it is now one that our children are facing and that society is facing, and it really is a morality issue. I mean, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we would have absolutely called this inappropriate. And now this is the beginning stages of actually seeing girls come in with thong bikinis in a what's deemed a family-friendly atmosphere. That is not family-friendly to me in any way. There is no other activity that I see out in society where people can show their butts and be walking around in thongs. If I stand corrected on that, then somebody could point out a certain activity where this is allowed. We would all be shocked if we saw somebody walking down the street with a thong. So why do we in any way think that it would be appropriate for girls to be having a string on the backs of their butts? So, and this is, to me, also just a nudity issue, a morality issue, and something that we do need to touch on, because I do not feel comfortable in any way bringing my 5-year-old daughter to the pool if these kind of things are happening, especially in a public space and especially at family pool time. I find this completely unacceptable, and we have to stop being cowards and not facing these issues and just continuing to roll these things, as I said, under the carpet. And we have to be aware that there are also child predators out there. There's, a huge increase in pedophilia out there. There's the internet explosion of pornography, all this types of immorality. So I think that we need to do a much better job at protecting our children, protecting their eyes, and having a standard. And so I did some research on the internet, and many places in the United States have swim codes. I pulled one up, one of the first one that I could find from Vancouver, Washington, and they absolutely do not allow thong bikinis for good reason. So what I'm asking is that we would put in some sort of code that makes it very clear what appropriate is, because obviously there needs to be boundaries now with what's happening in society today, and that we just have not faced this issue before, have we, in all of our years. So I ask that you guys please protect our children, make this a safe, friendly atmosphere, because if this to me is opening the Pandora's box. Are we gonna allow a man to walk around in a thong now too, if he wants to go to the pool? What about a 15-year-old girl? Should she be allowed then to wear a thong bikini? What about a 14-year-old? What about a 12-year-old? Okay, so this is opening, again, the Pandora's box. So if we have standards in place, then everybody feels safe and protected as well. I don't think it is a hard thing to ask a girl and to ask everybody to have their bums covered at the swimming pool. So I ask that you not take this lightly, please, and that we put in a dress code just as there is in many places in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I understand we still have a motion on the floor with respect to having staff investigate the various dress codes, what's appropriate and inappropriate. Can you just read that out to us, Mr. Yates?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My understanding is from Commissioner Grinnerud, that staff investigate and bring back a report to look at appropriate and inappropriate dress code for the Strathcona Gardens. I'm not sure if I got that 100% correct, but that was, I think, the intent.
And I believe we do have a seconder, correct?
I didn't catch the name.
Oh, we don't have a seconder at this point. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Kerr. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Yes, Commissioner Kerr.
Thank you. And, you know, I think maybe as a friendly that maybe that we monitor the situation and get a report back. I mean, whether or not this is a one-of-a-kind situation, or it's a daily event, or it's a wave of you know, a new wave, being an aquatic center coming in. You know, I think we should get a report back to us just in terms of the activity that's happening there.
Yes, Commissioner Rice.
I'm not opposed to a report. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around, once we have a report and there's a recommendation, how would staff deal with the recommendation if that was the decision? I mean, again, I can see it challenging for staff that are manning the front counters to how are they going to confirm that people have appropriate swimwear to wear? I see all kinds of challenges with this. Thank you.
If I can, Madam Chair, I think what we would do, it's subjective to determine what's appropriate by ourselves. We would look at other facilities and kind of trying to put together what would be a common dress code, if you will, from existing policies out there, and then bring that back and say, this is what's out there. But for us to individually determine what's inappropriate, that's super subjective.
Yeah, and I do thank you for bringing that to our attention. From my own personal experience, my daughter was an artistic swimmer, which used to be called synchronized swimming. And if anyone's ever seen the way their bottoms are, they are designed specifically to lengthen the leg. And they do not cover much of the rear end. So there are a number of sports, sanctioned sports, that maybe not are thongs, but it becomes an issue of what we consider appropriate, and it's going to be difficult, I think, for staff, but we will try, if this motion passes, to do our best. Any further discussion? Yes, thank you, Mr.
I would agree with Commissioner Kerr's friendly to, at the present time, monitor the situation.
Okay, so there you have that motion, Mr. Yates?
I do, yes, thank you.
So that includes the report back from staff as well as continuing to monitor the situation. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried, thank you. And thank you very much for coming today. Well, I don't know if I made it as 5 minutes, but I tried. Okay, so I think that's it for all the business.
That's all we have on the agenda.
Thank you. A motion to terminate.
So moved.
Oh, I think that was Commissioner Dolan Kerr. All in favor? Any opposed? We're done.